we should introduce ourselves. You want to start?
Oh, let's see. My name is Carson Parish, and then you say anything about why we're here?
Yeah. What have you done?
Let's see. I wrote "Die from a Broken Heart," the music video that's playing later tonight. I also work for Johnny, and I just finished my undergraduate from John Carroll University in this fall. I'm heading to a MFA in creative writing program at School of the Art Institute in Chicago. So.
Great. Welcome. Hi, my name is Saba. I'm still an alcoholic. Wrong room
Wrong
again.
meeting.
So I'm here because I won a comedy drama feature award. I never know how with the order, but I am an actor, writer, director, producer in New York. I am French, and I've been in the States for 17 years, and I hope to die in the States.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick Hampton.
Hi, Patrick.
I am back here again from last year. I won 2 awards for screenplays that I wrote for sci-fi feature, 2nd place and 1st place for TV pilot. Last year I got 2nd place for TV pilot. I'm an actor too. I work in film, both front, back end. And I'm right now working on trying to get some of my stuff produced on the higher levels, so big budget stuff, which is awesome. Now next to this guy.
I'm Joe Randazzo, and I'm here because Patrick approached me in the bar and said, "Hey, why don't you do this?"
I secretly just want to hold Sam underneath the table.
That's literally how this happened. So, I've been coming to the indie. Well, this is the 2nd year that I'm actually physically at this festival. I've won here, according to IMDb, about 9 times.
We're doing the math in the bar.
We're literally just counting it.
Yeah.
I think it's 9. But about 9 times over the last 6 years, and I have a film playing here, or played last night, called The Perfect Candidate, that I wrote and produced, starring Joe Estevez and Robert Starr, and yeah, that's really about it. I'd give the mini bio like that.
I'm Mara Lesemann. I'm here specifically this year because my short Free Pass won the Short Romantic Comedy Award. Last year, my feature film, Surviving Family, screened here, won the Audience Choice Award, won Best Actress. That movie actually just got picked up for distribution and will be out on Redbox this fall, so that's a really big deal for us. I'm working on a new screenplay called About Us, which unfortunately was finished too late to submit here this year, but I'm planning on shooting that. I'm planning on shooting that next summer. And that's about it. I've been coming here off and on for 6 or 7 years now, and it's a great festival. I'm really glad to be back here.
One thing I'll just add to, and probably one reason why I'm here, is I just taught my first class in screenwriting, which is geared towards writing within boundaries, so a 48-hour film festival format, usually what I try to focus on in my discussion. So any questions anyone has, please ask. We're all up here to help you out, you know, anything from the writing process. Yeah, how many writers in the room, please? Awesome.
Okay, that's nice.
How many actors? Just actors in the room. That's not bad at all.
We need you. We need you.
And the great thing to learn about this process is going to help you out with developing your characters too, while you're getting ready to perform them.
How many of you have either produced or had somebody else produce one of your screenplays? Okay, so would it be a reasonable expectation that maybe some of you are kind of looking to go to that next point? Is that maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll start with how I start on a screenplay, and maybe we can kind of go down the road.
Go for it.
Okay.
That's perfect. I love it.
Mine start really, really, really small. I start with a kernel of an idea, something that tickles my fancy at any given moment, and that's how I go. But one of the other things that I do is I really listen to people. It's a standing joke when my husband and I go out that I need the people watching spot. That if we pick a table that we're going to sit in, I need the one where I can watch the entire room. And if I can eavesdrop on a few conversations at the same time, even better. Just to give you an idea of what I mean by a kernel of an idea, my new screenplay, About Us, is about it's a road trip movie. It's a father-daughter movie, and it's about a woman who just got divorced, and she takes her dream job, and she's going to move from New Jersey, which is where I live, down to Florida. But the idea of this came from last summer when I first started taking my feature to film festivals, and it seemed like everybody I knew was taking road trips. I took a road trip up there with our director. My husband had the misfortune to have to drive up with my parents in their car for a world premiere screening. At the same time, my sister was driving her daughter from Michigan to Florida to go back to school. And everybody who I talked to came back with these really weird road trip stories. And so I decided, first of all, I wanted to write a road movie because it's a good genre that a lot of people can relate to. But I took it a step further and said, I wanted to write a father-daughter road trip movie. I'm one of 3 girls. My husband has 2 daughters from his first marriage. My sister has 2 daughters. And I really didn't see a lot of those out there, so I wanted to take a very familiar genre, which is the road trip, and then I wanted to add a slightly different twist, which is that it's going to be a father and his adult daughter who are moving. So that's kind of how I start, and then the whole thing builds out from there. But I start with just a kernel of an idea, and I throw away about 50 of them before I get very far. But this one is working for me, and I'm on the 3rd draft of the full script. So.
All right, I start out with usually just some idea that's just completely out there. Because it's got to be something that if I tell somebody that in one line, they're going to be interested. Because ultimately, that's, you got to get people's attention like that. So Perfect Candidate came from me hanging around going, what if a B-movie actor, or Joe Estevez specifically, ran for president of the United States, and we went through all these different variations of who else we could throw in there to kind of make things work. And ultimately, it's just got to be, an idea's got to be weird enough that I don't think anybody else would come up with it. Either that or a paycheck. Either one works for me to get me started. But for my own stuff, it's always just got to be just something that I can come up with that I don't think anybody else has done, anybody else can think of, and just go from there. Sometimes even morally, something that I want to make a statement about.
It's the kernel of truth for me. Like you're saying, your seed. I call it my seed of truth, and it's the root of everything. The root of why the story is there, and why the story started. I usually have about 20 projects working at one time for scripts, and I will set up certain ways, and I will, one word will help just describe a whole story to me, and that's my seed of truth. So I'm able to recollect the whole story and like just a lot of process in my mind, and once I finally am ready to write, sit down and go for it, that's when the words will just fly out. So it's one of those things that you have to believe in the idea so much, and like that idea can be, in a car ride. Something can just pop in your head, and you will just fall in love with it. It's just, it has to be your truth, and that's what helps me write my screenplays.
Admit it. You're the one who killed him. You seduced him, gained his confidence, and then when he wasn't looking, you reached into your purse, and without conscience or remorse, you pulled out a gun and shot him. And cut. Curious? Visit theindygathering.com, a film festival, and so much more.
In today's world, there is an absolute need to know how to protect yourself. But who has the time or money for lengthy training sessions with techniques you may not remember in a time of need, or which can wind up putting you in even more danger? With Escape and Survive, you will learn effective, easy-to-remember techniques for getting out of dangerous situations. No complicated moves, no expensive, time-consuming training, just common sense self-defense. Book your seminar today at escapeandsurvive.com.
all the things I've written are basically things that I know. I never write about myself personally, though I write myself in the scripts that I write, because I originally wrote to produce and direct my own movies. But I do not do a personal story. I just write about what I know. And usually it gets so detailed in the characters, because like you, I observe people. People think, even though I say this is not my story, they still think it's my story. I just finished a feature that was sent to festivals last week. And I play a rock star who has major troubles with drugs. I did have my share of problems, but it is not my life. But because I played it with a strong character description for myself and for all the other actors, it really makes the story believable. So that's what I do. And like everybody else, I mean, you know, how many times do you think, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we wrote a story about blah, 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 blah? I mean, I have folders in my computer that only me can understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's,
those are dig deep.
when you first started, yeah, you have like that folder that says ideas, and then that becomes something else, inspiration, and then you have just sentences, and then words, and then you're like, I don't even know what that means anymore, but you know, at one point it was cool. So.
Yeah, I just kind of leading in want to say that I think it's really, I mean, everyone here is so varied and so different. Even just on of these 5 people, everyone has such a completely different style. I was here today because of writing Die From a Broken Heart, the music video. However, on my own time, I'm currently working on my 5th feature screenplay. I just don't show them to anyone because I wrote the first one when I was 13, and you know, I was horribly self-conscious, and then about every 3 years I've written a new one, and I get so self-conscious about them that I don't want to show them to people. But my process has evolved in those years so that the most 2 recent ones I've done, and the one that I submitted to SASC, which got me admitted to the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, and the one I'm working on right now, both start from essentially a newspaper article. I'll be leafing through either the Cleveland Plain Dealer, the Toledo Blade, or the Detroit Free Press. I'll pick out a news story that I think interests me. And then from there, I'll fictionalize that story and make it into something from my own personal point of view. I'll generally add a character that either kind of reflects my sentiment or something along those lines that I want to convey through that story. The last one, the one that I submitted to SASC, was about the 5 anarchists who tried to blow up the bridge over Brecksville. Something like that. Starts out as something that, and then it becomes something completely different after I kind of infuse it with things that I want to add or want to come across in the story. The one that I'm working on right now started from a story in Toledo in which a 1-year-old girl was killed as a byproduct of gang violence. So I'll take something that I think is fascinating and then from there build upon it by fictionalizing it, by making it more interesting for what's beyond the article, or combining other articles. So for that one, I combined 3 or 4 different articles about what's going on in Toledo right now and the gang violence that's happening there, and sort of fusing them all down into one story.
It's a lot of stuff. Like, writing's, it can be a passion, it can be a career, but if you really love to write and love to create these stories, you should just let it happen. And that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest pointers I've ever been given is never, ever stop writing your story until it's finished. Never go revise it, finish the story first. Why? Is because you have that product to work from then. You don't have that half-assed product, you have that product to work from. My script that I won this year, Beantown for TV Pilot, that's the first script I ever started writing. I stopped it. And I wrote another pilot because I didn't thought I could spend the attention that I wanted to on that piece. And I came back to that piece. I even pitched it before it was even finished. Then I came back and finally finished writing it, and it's honestly it's my baby. So the fact that it won here is absolutely amazing. If you really love to tell a story, tell the story.
Okay, let's pause for questions. Otherwise,
Yeah, do you have any questions, please?
Yeah, the process of the writing, of course everybody has their own, but you know, some of they said, you know, they just think about your event, your final scene, target, and then they start to build their art.
Yeah, so you start from the end and you work your way back. That's what you're saying. That's a strategy. That is a strategy to do. There's a lot of different ways to write screenplays.
Yeah, that's different for everybody.
Always for you.
I've done it before. Yes, I have. It's a really great strategy to write something. But if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. And to go log back and try to tell that backstory is one of the hardest things, period. And even with flashback scenes and whatnot, to just think of that lifestyle before and working right back. It works for some people. It's like reading the back of a book. That by the ending.
Like the one that I'm working on now, which is called About Us, I knew the beginning, but I had to find the end as I got there. And I just kind of had this idea in my head that the main character, which is a woman in her 30s, her husband wanted a divorce, but he had just finally come out of the closet as gay, and he came from a very conservative family. And kind of the standing joke among her friends when they finally broke up was that she was the only person who didn't know he was gay. That everybody else in the world had known for 10 years that he was gay.
I would say one thing. Because I'm the director of the company, I get scripts all the time. People send me scripts all the time. And sometimes I read them. Sometimes. Because what happens is I start reading the first few pages and I've been lost from page 1. There's nothing that is interesting. I find that of all the screenwriting classes I sat in, the first thing that I remember from those classes is find a conflict and a reason for anyone to continue reading.
This is actually, I think, a good question for the panel to answer. What is your experience? What's your training in screenwriting? What have you done for training-wise?
I went to the New School in Manhattan, and I took their entire screenwriting sequence, which I think is about 10 classes. And the single best one I took was actually called Script Analysis. And really, it was just it was watching movies that have been produced, and you really had to break them down. You had to identify the inciting incident, end of Act 1, midpoint, just to watch it. And you started out with very simple ones like Disney movies, and you ended up with the Red, White, and Blue trilogy, which is a kind of esoteric French series. But I took 10 classes there, and then that also included watching classic movies, watching horror, watching comedy, watching 1940s and 50s romantic comedies. But it was a series of about 10 classes in order to get, and that was as part of finishing my BA in Media Studies. So it was a great sequence of classes.
For me, it started reading Sid Field, and everybody kind of has to in the beginning, because you got to learn that 3-act structure. And then I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York and took a storytelling class for short screenplay writing with Everett Asen. I turned in a bunch of projects, and I mean, the beauty of it was with him, if he didn't like it, he told you immediately, and he would pick it apart in front of the whole class. So you had to keep coming back with something better, because otherwise you'd just be humiliated. So I think it's the best way to learn, because now you know you don't want to look like a complete idiot in front of your classmates. So one day he picked apart something that I wrote to the point where I was questioning what I was going into. But when I turned in the next assignment the following week, he kind of held it up as an example of what to do when you're doing everything right. ultimately, you gotta remember that film is visual and the screenplay is visual. And one of the hardest things that everybody does, and it annoys the shit out of me. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to curse. Sorry. It annoys me when, like you, I get scripts all the time.
Yeah.
Or friends of mine asking me to read something, and they can't seem to understand that if something isn't going to be on the screen, it doesn't belong in the script. I don't want to read Robert is 42 and lives with his mother. Show me Robert living with his mother. Show me that he's, you know. I was doing stuff like that early on, and it would be picked apart in class. I think that's what people need. Because if you're telling somebody,
It's true.
if you're telling somebody that their stuff is good, you're not doing them any favors at all.
That's right.
No.
I needed to be told what you're doing here is absolutely, emphatically wrong. You will never make a career at this if you don't change it. And then you find your way around it. You find a way to tell the story visually.
And that's one of the hardest things I think I've had is readers. With readers, like I have original readers would read my scripts and it'd take them forever to get back to me, or like they just, like it's good, I love it. Well, that doesn't help me. Like, why is it good? Why did you love it? Can you help me break it down? But not. That was probably my biggest fear about it. But my experience comes from I'm self-taught. Self-taught. I ended up for my creative outlet. I couldn't get a camera. And I was like camera off, and grew up with a camera in my head. So I went to screenwriting instead. I started reading a couple scripts just to get the feel of it, check it out, and the next thing you know, I started writing. I took a class when I went to film school, and it just exploded from there. To the point that I love it so much that I love teaching it. Yeah, that's my experience. And
I wrote plays of Broadway theater. I used to be a dancer, and then I switched and retired from the dance world and became a full-time actor. And then I started writing scenes for my friends and I so we could have good reels, original. And then those scenes became scripts. And then I became a teacher assistant at the School of Visual Arts in New York in screenwriting and directing. So I've done that for 7 years. And you know, when you're in a room where screenwriting and directing is taught, you learn if you're not stupid, and I don't think I am. So, but what's amazing to me is that listening to these teachers repeating the same thing to their students all the time, and because I wasn't a student, I was like, but they said that already, you know? I mean, like, they're supposed to know that, but we need to hear it so many times. You know, like the conflict, like what you say, if it's in the script but it's not in the movie, we don't need it. Or those long descriptions. It's good to have descriptions to give a color to your movie. But when you have half a page of description, I'm lost. You know, I don't remember the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And same with dialogues, you know, where you have, it's rare to have monologues in movies, but when you have 3 pages monologue, start asking yourself questions.
Why so long? It's like, why don't we just cut the scene to make it easier for your actor?
So for me, sitting through these classes and doing my writing on my own, and also working with thesis students, I start from pre-production. We sit, they talk to me about their script. I sit with them in class. We do script table reads, and then I co-produce their thesis. For me, that has been the most amazing learning experience, because it wasn't my writing, and I was able to see all the mistakes they were making. So when I write, I tend to stay away. And the last thing that taught me so much, so I'm French, and my 2 idols are Alfred Hitchcock and Stephen King.
Oh, Hitchcock.
And Stephen King,
Maynard, same things for Maine. This gets from Maine.
Stephen King has changed my life. He's shown me things that I didn't even know could exist. And there's one book called On Writing by Stephen King that is brilliant. It just says things that are so simple to understand. I was like, dude, this is what we need. You know, that was my exact reaction. So that's how I love writing.
Yeah,
Passive
similarly.
verbs. No passive verbs.
That's right.
No passive, no INGs.
passive verbs.
Make sure you capitalize your character when you're the first time putting your script. There's so much
Not
JavaScript
after
for
that.
writing.
Similarly, yeah, no, I was self-taught as well. My dad had a copy of Sid Field's screenplay, and obviously you read through it. And I basically just watched movies. You know, I'd go to the library and check out 5 movies every week because it was free. I'd sit at home and watch them. I didn't have many friends, but that was something. And then I would sit there and I would study them, and I would read screenplays too. I'd read screenplays, not of these great classic movies necessarily, but movies I liked. So Michael Mann's Heat, Die Hard, things like that. And eventually I began to get so thirsty for it that I didn't necessarily have an interest in those types of movies anymore. I became more and more fascinated with experimental cinema, so things like La Jetée and things like Stan Brackage's films or Michael Snow, things that don't even necessarily need screenplays. Think I still thought about those kinds of ideas, and so as I began writing, I essentially just started writing blindly. At the time, I said, I was 13 when I started, 14 when I finished my first one, and I just wrote it. So mine was very much of the nature of, I was just writing a book in screenplay form. Back then I couldn't afford Final Draft or anything like that. And so there was a book called Elements of Style for Screenwriters that essentially just shows you how to format it yourself. So I wrote it all on Microsoft Word, and then just went in and did all the spacing by hand. Which took forever. It took longer to
try that way though.
That's why I stopped my first screenplay.
That's the way you begin, and then I finally had someone who read over it, and then I had someone else who read over it, and unlike people here, I was exhausted. I would write an entire screenplay in a matter of just a few days.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, I didn't want to look at it.
And I think we've all done that.
I've done marathons. Like I have a deadline on Tuesday. I'm 3 pages in. What do I do?
Most of it is just
shoot. I mean, you marathon 24 hours. You knocked out 55 pages. I don't know how I did it, but what the hell, they like.
Yo, it's like you just get in the flow. You get in the flow, and that's like the biggest thing in there. Like once you get in the flow as a writer, it just comes out of you.
That's true.
You don't think about it. You just type it.
Sometimes you got to put yourself in the flow. That's what it's hard.
But
it's got to be done. It's
I will say there are tools nowadays that are really helpful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, English is my 4th language, so I agree. I still have an accent. It's okay. I deal with.
Do you write with an accent?
Yeah. I do write with an accent.
It's really true.
You write what you know.
I write what I know. So I always have very good American editors that work with me. And I sit, after I did 17 drafts, we sit together and then they tell me, yeah, this is Franglish, But so, interestingly enough, I was hired in January 2012 as a social network writer. I didn't even know that existed. I've been hired to write blogs, Facebook, Twitters every day, and I'm getting paid for it. For a company that does things for interior design, gardening, and feng shui. So that was a very interesting thing. I was like, why did I get the job? They're like, oh, well, I heard that you write scripts. I'm like, right. And I got the job. I mean, we had a meeting. And so then I thought I had to figure out a way to write a blog about gardening, feng shui, interior design, and then take that blog of 250 words, turn it into a Facebook, readable Facebook. So it's like about that big.
Yeah.
And
that's
turn
hard.
it into a Twitter.
Yeah.
Which
and
is
just downsize it again.
And I cannot tell you how helpful it's been for my writing. And our friend Stephen King has been such a great help, because it's amazing that in one tweet I'm able to say the same thing that I say in 250 words.
The one thing that I asked that question.
Magical. So if you think that you have blanks at times, just try that. Create a page. You don't even care if someone will read it. Really. I have a blog. I don't even know if anybody reads it, and I don't care. I write the blog just for an exercise.
Welcome to Movie Outline 3, your first step to a successful screenplay. Movie Outline is powerful screenplay development software for both the amateur and the professional screenwriter, which uses the simple technique of step outlining to build your story, characters, and screenplay scene by scene. With Movie Outline, you can easily plan and customize your story structure, color code acts, rearrange scenes, develop and track characters, format your screenplay, and compare your own story to successful Hollywood movies. Movie Outline is the ultimate writer's tool. Visit www.movieoutline.com to download the free demo today.
This August, come to the film festival where East meets West.
It's an incredible showcase of over 75 films from around the world.
And it's more than just a film festival.
It's a place where filmmakers can gather together with the audience
for one amazing weekend
to celebrate the power,
the drama,
the joy,
the magic of independent film.
The Indie Gathering International Film Festival.
It's so much more than you ever imagined.
It gets you out there, you know, like out of your brain, and every day take a new subject, a chair, you know, a person,
yeah. The reason why I asked the question about where our training came from is you can see that all of us have some formal training. All of us have gone through. We've all started just writing. We've all done by hand, WordPress, Word documents, spacing it out, trying to make a horrible screenplay, which there are programs that will help you out.
Yes.
Final Draft, Celtics you can get for free. It's going to be more industry standard. It's like more industry friendly, not standard, because it's a decent program. But like you said, we've all started with when we've had formal training. We all continues to learn and progress on our art, which is writing.
Yeah.
So please use this time to ask us any questions you have. We're here to help you out. We're here to, any questions you have.
Writers without words, come on.
Right?
I have a question.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm an acting coach. But I rarely, if ever, do more than one of those roles in one project. And it's so traditional in stage work that somebody writes it and another person directs it. Yet in independent film industry, that rarely seems to happen. In other words, the screenwriter ends up being the director of the film. And I was wondering what you thought the real value of that is versus having someone else.
I think Saba would be the best one to answer this question.
Put another set.
Well, let him answer, and then I'll say why I think it's a crappy idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would love to too. He's the he writes and directs his own stuff.
You tell us why it's a good idea, and I'll tell you.
I'm a multi-hyphenate myself.
Can I just add my own comment to it before you answer that? See, because I just recently finished a project. Bob was the first AD, I was the acting coach, interpretive director, and Daryl McCullough was the director-writer. And I directed the entire pre-production.
Yep.
And this man who wrote it, was sitting there with tears in his eyes saying, he goes, oh my God, I didn't even realize what was in my own script. And he felt it very valuable to have someone else interpret that and say, oh my God, this is even deeper than what I thought.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was wondering if you've had that experience, of what your view on that is.
I can say this. Why do I write and direct? I'm an actor. Actors are the most arrogant people on earth. We need to be the center of the attention all the time. I want to work, that's all. You know what I mean? It's not for the fame or the money. I just want to work as an actor, and that's what I do. So I write my roles because I want to do those roles, right? And then I direct them because, let's face it, do you want to direct my film?
I might want to.
Well, I've never found anyone that would say, yeah, I'll direct your movie, and like that.
It's the hardest thing as a writer.
I've been hired 100 times, as an actor, as a producer, but no one ever asked me, hey, can I see your script? Can I direct it? Can I produce it? No, this is not happening.
So I'm on that page. Personally, I totally respect what Saba is saying. Personal opinion, this is not backed by fact, this is not an empirical observation. I think writer-directors are a crappy idea. And having said that, I also offered my director a role in the movie that I thought she was absolutely perfect for, and the casting director thought she was perfect for, and she declined to do it even though she loved the role because she said
didn't want to do both.
Because she didn't want to do both, and
And
she
that's
didn't feel that she could not.
I'll look at this right here.
Yeah.
I'm a multi-hyphenate myself. I'm a SAG eligible actor. I'm a writer. I'm a director. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker. It's the hardest thing in the world to take off a hat and put on a new hat. Like, you have 3 phases of film.
Yeah.
You have pre-production, you have post-production, you have pre-production, production, and post-production. Pre-production happens where all the writing happens, productions, directors through the whole process, or usually should be through the whole process. Getting involved, but the script is what I call the skeleton.
Right.
The skeleton of it, and then we're building a body around that, and that's what you're building, that form around that movie, and you have to get your pieces. So some people cannot remove themselves from certain titles, and that you have to have those independent things. Film is the ultimate art collaboration. You have everything from animators, you have writers, you have actors, you have musicians, you have people building worlds and set dressing. Film is the ultimate art collaboration that we have this year in our age. So to come to that and try to do it all by yourself is kind of hard because you can be great at one thing, you can really suck at another thing.
Or it's just too hard to wear more than one.
Yeah.
Look at things from 2 different angles.
That I don't agree, because for me it hasn't been a problem. I never write while I'm acting or directing.
And that's why not everyone has the ability to take off that hat.
Directing, and I'm never directing while I'm acting.
So you're not directing yourself then?
Well, of course I am. You have to.
You have to. You have to in that sense.
But when you're acting,
it's part of the job. When you're actor director, it's like a specific title.
What I'm saying is, when I'm writing, right?
Right.
Then production begins. I'm acting and directing. So while I'm directing, I'm not directing when we're rolling. So I'm not acting at that time. I'm directing, taking the directions both for myself and the other actors. Once I call action, I'm acting, I'm not directing. I never do both. So for me, it works quite well.
And it's what's hard
but
the hat
again, I did say the only reason I do all this is because I haven't found anyone saying, Saba, I love the way you act and I want you, to be in my movie. Can you direct it and act in it? Absolutely. Can you produce it and write it? Do it. I'll do it. I direct anyone. I'll do it.
Similar to that, I can't find anybody to direct something that I've already written, but I've had no problem finding people hiring me to write.
Then that's the hardest part.
Right there.
And the partnership comes with, like Maria was saying, that partnership. You find that person to work with you.
Do we have any other questions from anybody else?
I'd like to find out how you're able to compartmentalize it when you're directing. First you write, then you direct, then you act, and such. How do you do that and know that what you're doing is at the top of your game at the moment?
That's a
Do
great
you have people
question.
who are on set, like basically say this works great, or what the hell wrong with you?
Right. So luckily, we are in 2013, and technology is amazing. And I do not shoot on film anymore. I only do digital. I will maybe go back to film one day, but right now I go digital. And what I do is that, especially when I have very emotional scenes and things that I have to make sure I nailed, we just rewatch it on the screen. I mean, I have a screening room on set with me. I'm always running with screens while I'm acting and rehearsing with the actors. I have mini screens, and then we have a separate, screen somewhere else. And then I just watch instantly what has been shot, and with the sound, and that at least allows me to know if we have what we need. And it is expensive. I mean, you need equipment, but it saves your movie. I mean,
Yeah, it does. Oh yeah.
Because I mean, again, I do not want to be all that. I just want to be an actor. I happen to love writing and directing, and I would love to direct someone's movie and not be anything else in it. I would love to do that, but in my only simple life as a guy living in New York City, I haven't found in 7 years a lot of people wanting to do all that for me. So I end up doing it. It's that simple, I mean, I know we have amazing tools for writers, and that tool might really work for me and not work for you, and something else will work for you and not for me,
You two have disrupted my classroom for the last time.
What are you gonna do about it? Spank us?
She can't spank us. It's against the law.
Spanking would be too easy. I'm gonna cause more permanent damage.
And cut! Curious? Visit theindygathering.com, a film festival, and so much more.
Are you a filmmaker looking for the location of your next project? Contact the North Coast Film Commission. With small cities throughout Ohio, we're here to help with your film, television, and commercial productions. With low to no cost permits and locations, we'll help stretch your budget. From our production resources to our talent database, we will show you just what the North Coast has to offer. Visit northcoastfilmcommission.com today.
Ultimately, it comes down to ego, because if you have the means to make a film, you're going to want to do. I think at this level, people are going to want to do their own thing. Yeah. I realized 10 years ago I am a terrible director, so I started writing because everybody told me I was good at that. So the problem, I found my niche with that. The problem is if you have the means to do it, you're going to want to do your own thing. So you don't want to do the script that I spent 9 months of my life working on and reworking. That's my passion.
As a writer.
You'd rather pay me to do yours as a writer. Or you're going to direct your own script. Or if you feel you're not a good enough writer, you'll hire somebody else. But you'll hire somebody else to tell your story. Because ultimately the people who have the means at the level that we're on, they don't want to tell our story. They want to tell their story. And they would rather pay us to write their story than anything else.
I see what you're saying.
It's in relation to
I hear that. Okay.
My question's in relation to that, because full disclosure, Joe is my co-writer.
I was going to say, wait to support your co-writer.
I've been watching Joe write for the last few years, and he's been hired on, as he said, he's been hired on to do other people's adaptations of their works and adapting screenplays. And I've seen the frustration that he goes through when at the last second someone calls in and says, well, I got to do this change, we need more of this. How does everyone else deal with it? Because I've seen the way he deals with it. I'm just curious, how does everyone else deal with it?
I've been in the lucky position so far that everything I've really had to write has been my own stuff. So I've been keeping my writing more to myself.
Okay.
But I have done some stuff for 48 hours, and I've had to do 8 rewrites on a script in a 48-hour film festival, which is not fun at all. I'm talking about rewriting 40 pages of a story that we just went back to the second copy. It's one of those things that you got to get through. It's the job.
Well, there are things that when you're an indie filmmaker. My latest work was Snow, a feature film, and all the outdoor scene I wrote with snow on the ground. And when we started production, we had snow the entire time of production. And so that's very frustrating because all of a sudden you change the whole thing. It's, but it still works. But it is frustrating. There are scenes that were written in limousines and we had to shoot it in the bathroom. That happens, but I feel at our level you have to be flexible.
I haven't had the situation of writing for somebody else, although I would actually love to do that. It's a skill that I'd like to develop. What I have done though is because I produced my feature, I couldn't be on set every moment because I had to run around and deal with a lot of the practicalities. And as I said before, I was lucky enough to have a great relationship with the director. And what I said to her explicitly before we started shooting was, if there's something that needs to be changed, either because it's not working, it doesn't sound right to the actors, or you realize when you get there, you gotta change, just do it. Don't worry about it, don't call me, you know, if I can be there, I will be there.
I love
But
rewriting
just
some stuff, and people give me, like, that's one of the best free, like, when I have a project that I'm working on and someone gives me feedback, like, this part really sucked. Like, why did it suck?
Yeah.
Awesome! Why? It's because I get to rework it.
Yeah.
Besides that, I will not reread my work. I barely reread my work. I barely rewrite my work. I will go, I'm dyslexic, so I'll revise it and stuff like that, or try my best. But, like, you have to be open to do the work. If you love it so much, you have to be open to do the work. And if you're not open to do it, then why do you want to be a screenwriter?
The funniest thing that happened to me right before we shot, and then I'll
Yeah.
let this young lady ask her question, was when we did the table read with all of our actors a couple days before we were shooting. And there's this wonderful actress by the name of Phyllis Somerville who's been in a lot of stuff like The Big C, and she was in a movie called Little Children. She's a wonderful, very tiny woman, about 65. She comes up to me afterwards and she said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "There was a line in it, in the first draft that I saw," and she quoted the line back to me. She said, "It's not in this draft, and I loved that line. Is there any reason you cut it?" I said, "I don't remember, but I'll put it right back. If you love that line, it's going." And it was a very good line, and she was, and I probably was just madly trying to cut extra stuff, and it accidentally got cut. So we actually put it back in at her request. And you had a question, so.
I was just curious to hear, with the feature that we have the screening here, we raised our money largely through Kickstarter. And I was just curious to hear, I know it's a different story for everyone, but what you do once you've got a script finished, how do you find that funding, especially if you're making a feature and you want to have more than 2 locations?
Yeah, there's so many different ways to fund your project. Crowdfunding is a great way to do it. I highly suggest you crowdfund on any project you do. Right now I'm in the midst of writing, I haven't finished writing it, but I'm going to be producing a short film. And it's a really dear project to me and to my heart. And I'll be crowdfunding it, and you know it's 30 days. You have 30 days to try to raise the money. And Indiegogo has a great thing. Kickstarter, if you don't fully fund Kickstarter, you won't get the funding for the project. Indiegogo, they'll take off 9% of what you made.
I have a more specific question. Once you've done that once, in my experience, it was very difficult to reach people beyond my network of friends.
You got to do it smart. You have to. It's a tool in your belt. I've yet to do it in my career. I've done a couple projects for other people, but I've yet to do it for myself. So now I'm doing it for myself. It's just like, you have to use your tools smart. And that comes down to strategy and what your marketing is.
I've gone the old-fashioned route. I wrote a script that it got a lot of awards and it got optioned.
Awards,
it never got made, but it got optioned, and that's the old way. That's
the hardest way to get it done now too. There's also a couple of places too. Like I said, I hate Blacklist.com. Blacklist.com, you can pay a fee, a monthly fee, where managers, agents will read your scripts. You will pay that fee, but you don't understand if your script's good or not. They're just going to take your money, so you have to make sure you have a product that is proper to put in to that situation.
I've been working for a long time, older than any of these guys here, and I had, I'm married, but I don't have kids of my own, and I had money put aside, and I used it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I do crowdfunding. I ask people to invest as well. And I sell my body,
I tried that, but nobody was buying.
That seems to work every time. No.
My new pen, by the way.
Screenwriting. I'm not here to sell anything but sell my script. I don't want to be a filmmaker. I don't want to do anything. I want to write it. I enjoy writing it. I enjoy thinking that it's 90% done because somebody else is going to blow it away when it gets into the hands of everybody else. And I like that process. I'm excited to know the experimentation of how that works between everybody else's brain. What the vision is of the director is, what the vision of the set director is, what the vision of the producer, everything.
It's a
and
beautiful
I'm excited to
cooperation,
see the outcome of me. Like, what is anybody's advice on just being a simple, old-fashioned screenwriter?
So there's ways to get you need to get your work out there. You need to get your work out. Festivals, indie gathering.
Just one, New Hope Film Festival. Yay. I'm up for the
Congrats.
Action Mon Film Festival.
That's amazing. That's a really. She has a script in there too.
For Creative World.
Do you go to the? I mean, obviously you're here by definition.
I don't live in the country.
What's that?
I don't live in the country.
Stage, there's network. You have to network no matter what. You network. Richard Bono's a friend of mine personally.
Okay, I just started.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Anybody know of a guy named Jacob Kruger?
The name sounds familiar. Well, so the biggest thing you can do is that you have to go the old-fashioned way, which is basically getting yourself option, which is you have to get your name out there, which is winning awards, winning awards, winning awards.
The one
you
thing
have to.
I would say.
What do you think about things like Inkster and stuff like that?
I think it's a kind of a no-lose.
I never really opened those emails. I remember I won like a year's subscription to it at some film festival, and they just.
They can be good. Yeah, they can be really good. Some situations. If you know what you're doing and why you're putting your project out there for, and use it for that purpose alone, that's where you approach it. But don't go through it and think that it's going to be your saving grace. It's going to get you discovered, because you have to do the legwork.